You have reached the Geek Elite. Good luck.
Hey, Nerf herders.
You sure you want to go with that?
Hey, everyone.
There we go. More inviting.
Have you ever had a movie that you really wanted to love, but something holds you back?
Or one that you did love in spite of a flaw?
Well, I'm Case Aiken.
And I'm Sam Alisea.
And on Another Pass, we sit down with cool guests to look at movies that we find fascinating.
But flawed.
And we try to imagine what could have been done when they were made to give them that little push.
We're not experts. We just believe in criticism.
Constructive criticism.
Sure.
So come take another pass at some movies with us.
And every now and then, we can celebrate movies that did it on their own, too.
You can find us at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Pass it on.
Let's record an episode.
Oh. Welcome back for another shift on the Geeks Watch. We are back. We are still talking about Loki on Disney Plus. This is a series following around the villainous character of Loki. But is he still a villain? That's what we're trying to find out.
Ooh, are they still a villain?
Sorry, are they still a villain?
Who is
More
the
importantly,
villain?
is it wrong to ship these two?
The internet has gone wild.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Even if it's wrong, they don't want to be right.
And quite honestly, at least in Norse mythology, it wouldn't be that far off for Loki.
This is true. Naeema's gone on and on about the story when Loki woos a horse.
Becomes a horse to woo a horse to give
Woo a
birth
horse.
to a horse.
I mean, who hasn't been there?
So as you can see, we all have opinions and things to say. Before we get to there, though, we're going to have our week's watch. So Elizabeth, what did you watch this week?
So I finally have a lot to talk about for Week's Watch for the first time ever, because I have managed to watch all of the Fast and the Furious movies for the first time.
All except for the one that's out in the theater right now.
Except for the one out in theater right now, which we're going to later this evening. But
Wait, I gotta know. Did you watch Hobbs and Shaw most recently?
Not most recently.
Not most recently.
Dang, I think that has to be the cap for everything because it's just so crazy.
I love that one. It's my favorite.
This whole thing is crazy. I don't know. They just progressively get crazier. So I watched the first, because I had never seen any of them except Hobbs and Shaw. I saw that one in theaters.
Hobbs and Shaw was your first one.
Was the first one I saw.
What?
It wasn't her fault.
Confused.
She was falling for a dude that loved to watch all the movies, so she had to go to that movie.
And so I had up till the last week and a half, I had never seen any of the Fast and the Furious movies. So as listeners will recall, last week, by the time we recorded, I had seen the first 2, and I watched the next 6 this week, which I have not consumed that much in visual probably ever in my life. I don't think I've ever watched 6 movies in a single week. That's
except for, if you catch her on the nights when she's working and wants to have something else on, she can sit through 4 hours of Criminal Minds in a sitting, or Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That has Matthew Gray Gubler, though.
Thank you. Stephen understands me. But so I think I don't know if they should all be consumed in such a short time frame.
I sat there and consumed them with you, so I disagree.
You disagree? Okay.
I used to have all 7 movies when it was still only 7 downloaded onto my phone, so I could just sit there and watch them whenever I wanted to.
You could tell we approach this from very different ends of the spectrum. So I will say that my personal favorite movie, much to Mitch's surprise, is actually number 6.
No, number 2 was her least favorite.
Between number 2 and number 8, those are my least favorites, hands down.
I'm a Tokyo Drift man.
Fair.
You would be, you weeb.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. No.
That's just the kind of racing I prefer myself, so it just makes sense.
Well, that's just what happens after that point in the franchise. They do drifting in all the movies, so you're fine.
It's just not as tight as curves.
Okay.
I tell you.
Fair enough. No, number 6 was definitely my favorite. Mitch presumed it would be 5. That's probably a close second, along with, I enjoyed 7 quite a bit. 3 and 1 were kind of in the middle for me, and I really disliked 2 and 8. I really felt like they screwed characters over in 8 in how they approached the character development. I was ragging on about it all last night because I was very upset.
So the question is that do you want to talk about the whole franchise as a whole right now, or would you rather talk about just 6, the one that you like the most?
I figure I was just going to talk about them in general because then I want to be done.
All right.
With Fast and the Furious forever.
Oh, it's not going to be forever. After watching 9, she's going to have 2 more movies to go watch.
I have accepted my fate, and I'm just banking these away for when I make him go watch Into the Heights and make him go back and watch Chicago. And
Hey, he's not getting out of Hamilton either.
Yeah.
You two need to be quiet.
I figure if I prime him with Into the Heights, we can get to Hamilton.
It's possible.
It's
See,
baby steps.
I thought Hamilton was like a good gateway for musicals.
Why?
Because it's not your typical musical. It has like some humor and like the rap battle sections are really well done. And it just kind of eases you into like the other aspects.
Because people who know me know how much I love rap and rap battles, right?
Yeah, that's the entire that's the whole thing that happens in Fast and Furious 7. That's the whole movie.
The problem for him is the fact that Hamilton was so hyped up, so he just by principle now at this point has decided he's going to hate it. So I have to gear him into that. There's no hope. Anyway, Fast and the Furious.
That's going to be the future of the series. They're not going to go into space. They're going to get Lin-Manuel Miranda to write the next one.
If they do, then I'll go watch Hamilton.
So anyway, 8 really bothered me because I just had a real hard time with both Hobbs and Letty not exploring why Dom is doing what he's doing. Like, both of those characters are naturally inquisitive and would find that as a critical piece of information that they need to figure out. And the fact that they don't bother really irritates me. And then I know that they wrote Brian out because Paul Walker passed, but I think I would have preferred to have them kill him off because it doesn't make sense to have him existing out there and not have him pulled in for 8 because you're talking about nuclear weapons where his family's going to die anyway. Like, so there's no, oh, well, we can do it without him kind of thing.
And plus, like, he literally couldn't stay away. That's been the thing for all of the other movies.
Exactly. So I have a real hard time with several things in 8. And
so we know from the trailer for 9 that Mia is going to be coming back. There has been rumors, and I don't know if this is true or not, that they will continue using the Brian character by bringing in Paul Walker's brother.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, he's already acted as him. So.
Correct.
Yeah. But in any case, I think my favorite characters are Hans and Giselle are probably my favorite of the group. My least favorite is definitely Roman. It's just not my... Doesn't fit my style.
Except for in the scenes where like he is stealing the show, like you were laughing.
Of course you laugh. That doesn't mean he's got to be my favorite character.
Like when he's at the party in Dubai, like
he made me so uncomfortable. Oh my God, the awkwardness. That's the problem. Like because he's the comedic relief, like all of his scenes are the ones where I'm like, I am so uncomfortable. Like, you are so awkward and it hurts and it physically, it pains me and I can't take it. It's too much. It's too much for me.
I think
but
he had like the most quotable line in the whole franchise for me for a long time, in like his first introduction with just the "we hungry." Like that just lived forever for me.
I mean, can you point to a movie that has a more diverse cast that has gone all over the world?
Power Rangers.
That's what? Get out of here.
he's not entirely wrong on that one.
I'll just say it.
They go to all over the green screen room. That's where they go.
Power Rangers does not shoot on a green screen. Super Sentai shoots on set in the 6 properties that Toei owns.
Okay.
I mean, the Avengers has been around the world at this point.
And they're a pretty diverse cast.
It's a lot of white guys on that team.
Yeah.
It's becoming more diverse.
One lady.
Wait, where are the Avengers gone?
They've been to Germany, Russia, Africa, South America, North America.
Where was South America?
Space.
South America was India. South America was the Hulk.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he was like in Brazil.
When the Black Widow found him? Or are you talking about the Incredible Hulk movie?
Incredible Hulk movie, yeah.
Oh, no, I'm talking about just the Avengers movies.
Oh, just the Avengers. Well, I mean, they've still been like Europe, Eastern Europe.
Africa.
Just like the cast.
Hey! I'm just saying that I think this franchise is as flawed as it is and as simple and, not great story. It's great time and it's worth it.
Well, let's face it, you're just in love with Vin Diesel.
No. I am absolutely. If anybody, I'm in love with Paul Walker and he's gone.
Now, how do you reconcile that John Cena is Vin Diesel's brother?
I can't wait to find that out in this new movie because, like, as we were watching the series and I'm like, now you got to remember when we watch this new movie, at some point they're gonna be like, John Cena is a brother that we have never seen before or heard them talk about.
Yeah.
People have long lost siblings in this all the time. Now, behind the scenes, this is only to screw over The Rock, right?
Yeah, kinda. Like, it's definitely they brought him in to replace The Rock as the big, strong dude, and
you might as well do it with like his biggest like adversary in their previous job, basically.
I mean, I feel like their The Rock's biggest adversary in the previous job would have been Stone Cold. Like they were in the WWE
that regard,
at the same
but
time.
Stone Cold's not like the multimedia.
Yeah,
I have
from
no
like
idea.
a multimedia standpoint.
Okay, I don't know. I think that it would have. Sure. Yes. Like he's the next one. Like it went Hulk Hogan, then it went The Rock, who took it to the highest peak that it can go, and now you have John Cena that's coming up behind him. I don't think he's going to make it as big as The Rock. Like he's not going to be a household name like The Rock is, but he is close. Like we'll see how well he does as Peacemaker, and then his own Peacemaker TV series. But I don't see it getting as I don't see him becoming the mogul that The Rock is. Like The Rock's in TV series, hosting shows, presidential run.
Well, see, The Rock is going to have his own standalone like starring role with Black Adam, but John Cena's going to have that longevity, and I think he's going to be the more endearing character because it's funny. And I was going to talk about that a little bit in my week's watch, that Suicide Squad trailer. He had like the best line of that whole thing.
But in any case, the movies are getting ridiculous, so I'm sure 9 is going to be even more ridiculous. And
more people from the past.
I'm sure. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they're going to resurrect all sorts of people that are supposed to be dead because that seems to be the thing.
She doesn't.
The big one?
Nope.
No.
Not Paul Walker.
I figure that's going to be a little difficult. But no, I don't know. I think where I finally decided like nothing is off limits was either between the driving the cars through the towers in Dubai, A, and B, Paul Walker's character jumping off the bus as it's falling down the cliff to grab the back of Letty's car as she swings him around, and he's not injured at all. I think at that point I was like, all right, well, physics don't matter. Doesn't exist. I mean, there's no limits.
That's all the way at part 7. You mean you got through most of the series before you decided that this is too ridiculous? Like, I was like, this is ridiculous at dragging a safe or a vault around all of Brazil, like, or Rio.
I would just like to point out that I called that they switched the safes.
You did.
The part for me, honestly, it's later, but everything before that, I was like, okay, whatever, like movie nonsense, like we're jumping like literal and metaphorical sharks. It's fine. The part where I was like, okay, now we're just doing things, whatever, was actually in Hobbs and Shaw with Idris Elba. Like that was the part. I mean, where I was like, okay.
You got farther than I did then.
Hobbs and Shaw is
like, I quit.
Hobbs and Shaw, especially Idris Elba's character, is like going straight up comic books. Like we just need to make a supervillain for them to go up against now.
Yeah.
Like more so than Shaw was.
Yeah.
But yeah. So no.
Actually, in my opinion, like the Shaw character does the thing that I am the most upset with the Loki, and we'll get to that when we get to Loki.
Fair enough. But so that's the Fast and the Furious franchise. I think we mostly watched it on Mitch's DVDs.
Yes.
Nice.
All right, Steven, what did you watch this week?
I didn't go in the same direction as you guys did for this one. Last night, I watched a movie that's been out for a long time also, but I actually watched The Big Sick.
Oh,
for the first time.
For the first time, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's Kumail Nanjiani. For anyone who doesn't know, the movie is the probably slightly changed, but mostly true, based on reality kind of story of Kumail Nanjiani and the way that he met his wife, his now wife, and kind of like the struggles of the beginning of their relationship. She got really sick. And over the period, the course of the film, you see him having to kind of process and deal with who he is as a person versus who his parents raised him and expected him to be, and then who he was supposed to be socially because of all of that, and then him marrying the woman that he ended up marrying. It's really good. It's really funny at times. It has some really great performances from pretty much everyone involved. Even Bo Burnham as a like random side character is great in there. You have Ray Romano as his wife's dad, Holly Hunter as his wife's mom, and they're both fantastic in this as well. So I don't know. It's really good. It's on Amazon Prime. It's an Amazon original. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it for free, basically. I highly recommend it.
And just remember, this is pre-swole.
Yes. Yeah, very much.
It was a really good movie, and I think really shows, like, I don't want to say the struggles, but the life of the child of immigrants, and how they want to come to America for a better life, you know, especially for their children, but then they push on these traditions that don't really make any sense anymore in the new setting. So, it's I thought that was an interesting aspect of that story, especially for Kumail.
Very much.
Yeah,
and they balance everything in that movie damn well perfectly. Like there's no part of that movie that as you're watching it you're like, this is the point of the movie above anything else that's happening. Where sometimes you watch something and you think like this is the core nugget they're trying to do, and this other stuff is kind of just window dressing for that main bit. Mm-hmm. No, pretty much everything in here is done like on all cylinders and flawlessly. I can't think of a part of the movie that wasn't perfectly done, honestly.
And it was also interesting was at the beginning of the pandemic, Kumail and I can't think of his wife's name at the moment. They ended up having, they literally had to lock themselves away living in LA because of her disease that they talk about in this movie, that the movie's about. And they have to refer back to it a lot in their podcast when they're talking about how that, this is the reason why that they can't go anywhere. Everything has to be brought to them, having to stay completely safe because she is super high risk.
Yeah, very much so. Her name is Emily Gordon.
Emily, thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I can't imagine what kind of challenge that was for them. And he would have still been at a lot of points during the pandemic, still in heavy production for the movies that he's in right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. That's a good movie. I'm glad you got to watch that one. The Big Sick is on Amazon Prime, like you said. Mm-hmm. John, what did you watch this week?
All right, so a real quick side note is that I watched the Suicide Squad trailer. It was the best trailer they've released so far. It was really good. It had, like I said, probably one of the funniest lines delivered by John Cena, which was essentially a butthole joke. But my favorite thing about this whole thing, and it's already been posted on social media, this is like just such an ironic thing that it could not be hilarious, where DC actually is using the fact that this is a Marvel director of a successful Marvel franchise to promote this movie. And just you have to just kind of admire that for a moment. Like, wow. It's like,
I mean, the thing I would say is that trailers are typically done by like trailer editing houses.
True.
So they probably had nothing to do with this.
It's a distinct possibility.
But I said they still had to approve it.
Yeah.
But did they, though? I know they probably did.
Well,
but look at all the spoilers and things that we get in there. If there was some real oversight from some people, some of those things wouldn't get through.
But look at it this way also. What movie are they going to talk about otherwise from James Gunn?
The Superman one. That wasn't Superman.
That wasn't his. That was his brother's.
Dawn of the Dead.
I think Dawn of the Dead, well, he wrote that. He didn't direct it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they want something. He's the director of this movie. Like, so I don't know what other movie. Slither? Are you going to throw Slither out there?
I just don't think they have to say anything for him. At a certain point, everyone, anyway, I know I'm talking about this from the inside of people who are already in the know on things, but I feel like everyone's already had it jammed down their throats that it's the dude who did Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
It's fair. I just yes, go with the most successful movie that he's made, even if it is from the competition. It's not, and it's in the wheelhouse. Like, this is a comic book movie. That was a comic book movie,
and it's rated R, and apparently it's well-deserved R. So this is going to be what a lot of people apparently have been wanting out of DC.
I am very skeptical going into this movie. Like, these trailers do not look good to me. Like, I don't know what it is. You know what? I'm going to be super honest. Like, the music sells me a lot on Guardians of the Galaxy, like in that first movie. So if that hadn't been it, and he doesn't pick the right songs for this one, I might not be in for it. Like, I don't know.
As much as he's not a music person.
But that's the exact time frame of music that I like.
I think like the thing that this movie looks like that might actually be an issue for it is in Deadpool 2, one of the best things was the idea of this like massive cast of characters that they talked about, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, we're getting all these characters," and then they're all immediately gone. This movie actually has to deal with having all of those characters.
I think a lot of them are going to be gone though too. I think a lot of what we've seen is the beginning of the movie.
I mean, just based on like if you kind of try to put the chronology of the movie from just the trailers, there are certain points where like you're down to like 5 people. So I think a large part of those are going to be gone relatively early.
I think we're going to get a lot of the same thing that happened to Slipknot from the first Suicide Squad movie. And just going to be like, hey, and this guy's Slipknot. He climbs things. His head exploded. And we're done with him.
At no point would that ability have even been useful anyway, like watching this movie.
I mean, he could have climbed up the side of Ostrander Plaza and maybe helped out. I don't know.
I mean, Captain Boomerang is more useful, and all he does is like attach a GoPro to a boomerang, which apparently can hover. Like, that thing was like attached to a boomerang like drone or something.
Of all the things we've talked about, that's what you're having disbelief on.
The problem with comic books is that they really have no idea what boomerangs were used for, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, look at a batarang. Like, that does a lot more than what a boomerang does, and that's what it's named after. So I'm just saying, boomerangs in comic books are ridiculous.
I will point out, a batarang is technically a misnomer because it functions more like a ninja star or shuriken.
It really does.
So, yeah, those things. The only time you ever see a batarang return or try to return is in Batman Returns, ironically enough, where it's like a digital batarang.
It also had a camera on it, right? Just like the one that
and like
Captain
it had a little
Boomerang
touchscreen where you can select the trajectory you wanted to take, because there was like he actually had to do a real quick mental math. Okay, there's like 1, 2, 3 people right here in these positions. Program it, hit send, throw it, and then it gets ultimately stopped by a poodle.
Batman.
Prep time.
But anyway, so that was the trailer for The Suicide Squad. What I actually ended up watching was a movie I've been wanting to watch for a while now, and I guess I hadn't noticed it was now available to watch on HBO Max. I finally got around to watching Tenet.
Oh, okay.
Wait, John, I gotta know. Did you watch this in a situation where you were wearing headphones?
No.
Okay.
Then
how did the dialogue come through for you?
I had subtitles.
Okay.
Yeah. The dialogue is so bad.
Yeah, I usually, like, the voice of people is the hardest part for me to hear anyway, because of my little hearing situation. So I usually just watch everything with subtitles whenever it's available. Mm-hmm. Nolan's movies aren't really known for their sound design, really. In most cases.
Really?
So, like, I don't think so. Yeah, like Inception. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
okay.
Like, that's intentional though, because the bombs are like supposed to represent the music in the earlier levels or whatever.
Right.
Wait, so there's a New Jersey lady talking about explosives that's supposed to represent
the
time?
bombs.
So
Mitch, thank you for following me on that
one. I knew where you were going.
So yeah, I have to say though, of course, no spoilers, because this is one of those movies you just kind of have to unravel. I've never been so interested in a movie that I also kind of didn't really care about. Interestingly enough.
Honestly,
okay.
It's perfect. That's a perfect summary of this whole damn movie.
Like, as interesting and as well thought out as the premise and the logic was, I couldn't care about anyone in it. And the biggest name being Robert Pattinson, I think. There was no characters in this movie. Everybody's just doing something.
What's the name of the main character?
I couldn't tell you
because they didn't tell you.
What does the main character refer to himself as the whole time?
An operative or intelligence agent of some sort.
It's a storytelling device. What is the name of your hero? What is a hero called? What is the hero?
He just goes as narrator.
No, that's Fight Club.
He calls himself the protagonist.
Oh, that's right.
All the time. It's literally Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. So no, this movie reeks of having your head really far up your ass and like, look how clever I am. But it's clever. Like at the same time, this movie has all of the time travel tropes. This thing has like Primer, Back to the Future, Looper. Especially, what was the other one that I was thinking of that this is like, dude, this is exactly like this other thing. I love the idea that they have those machines that make things go backwards in time. So everything is like grandfather paradox, and you get the whole like doppelganger. And like, as soon as something started happening where you can't tell who is on screen because they're obscured, I was like, that's going to come back in a big way. And it does in every case. Like, oh, that's exactly what I thought that would be. But the way it's shot was really creative. But I feel like
they fucked up on one scene.
Oh,
did
which one?
they?
Yeah. there's a part where they're supposed to have people like moving backwards in the thing, and so everyone else is walking forwards in the scene, and they had the main actors walking backwards. It's a part of the thing with the big airport stuff, and they're supposed to be walking forwards, and so they train them to do this like weird walk that'll look like forwards walking.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Kind of. The fire moves in reverse because they messed it up.
Because you can't actually control fire.
Yeah.
I can't blame them that much though, because this must have been a logistical nightmare to try to plan all of those like things just right. But I love the ideas though. I love the ideas presented here. As soon as I started seeing like the more crazy shit happen, I was thinking this would have been a perfect anime.
It is an anime. Absolutely. It's a 12 episode miniseries.
It's Steins Gate.
Yeah, honestly.
If this would have had the time to really flesh it out in a more episodic format, and with animation, you wouldn't have some of those potential like errors because you're controlling everything, of course. I think you would have really been able to dive into it a little bit more. And also the way the characters are presented is definitely much more anime, where you're just like thrown in. Like there's no build up, there's no nothing. Oh, Doctor Who, that was the other one. There was a really, really strong. As soon as it was revealed, I'm like, really, we're doing the River Song thing here too? Okay.
It's funny that you bring up Doctor Who, because that's going to play into later also.
Okay. So, yeah, I agree with you on that one too now. But yeah, this was like, it had all of the cool stuff I liked about something like Inception, but I just...
And all the nonsense, incoherent stuff that you got from Interstellar.
Yes, there you go. It's in that perfect marriage in between those, where it's interesting enough to have your attention and to at least want to see where it goes, but it kind of feels a little bit like homework.
The thing I said to Mitch right after watching this, because he watched it, shared it with me, and I got to watch it, and I feel like at this point he's in a situation where Christopher Nolan is honestly, I think, quite literally diminishing returns with every film now. And I think he's in a spot where he's going to end up doing the M. Night Shyamalan thing, where you expect a certain thing from him and you go into it knowing it. It's not a trick anymore. You know there's something. And in this last one, the whole in Tenet, the whole thing for it was just supposed to be this one turn on a narrative, like a narrative device. You know, you have this one constant story throughout. Everything goes back and picks through it at different speeds in time, reverse time, and all these different things. And I just can't be made to give a shit. Like there's nothing that really makes it actually a worthwhile exercise outside of like a tech demo for a TV.
That's something. Exactly. This felt like a proof of concept of some sort.
Yeah. Well, and the thing, like a certain way into it, it's just that proof of concept kind of thing. And then the fact that Mitch, like we talked about it afterwards, it felt like he wanted to make a James Bond film. And then Mitch confirmed. He said this was him making a James Bond film.
I was gonna say that too. This has so many like Casino Royale, Spectre vibes to it.
Yeah.
I can't love this movie. The Prestige is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I think that's because it's earlier in his career.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that would, as much as we don't like the studio getting involved, sometimes you need the studio to get involved and be like, hey, rein it back just a little bit. But, you know, the bigger they get, the more successful they get, the more studios like, well, I guess that person knows what they're doing. Let's just let them go.
That's what...
Okay.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that's what happens to your, Tim Burton's, your Patty Jenkins. Like sometimes they do need to be reined in a little bit. And
your Zack Snyder's.
Yes, but he's getting restored. That's a whole nother episode of a podcast.
Yeah,
he's in a spot right now with Christopher Nolan that's just like. The movie, nothing in that movie was improved by the fact that they actually did the plane thing in a practical way with the whole big plane crash thing. Nothing was improved by that. in any way, shape, or form. It was just wasted money.
No, and that thing that it crashed in was an obvious extension to that area that was easily collapsible. I saw that too. I was like, I appreciate how much practical work Nolan is putting into this. This was not necessary
at all. It was just very, very frustrating. Like I'm seeing money being wasted on screen for no reason. I got student loans. Just give it to me.
Well, it's like in Inception. Like I as much as I love that movie, when I see how they did the reverse gravity thing for that hallway fight with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like holy shit, the amount of engineering and money that must have been thrown at that thing, that giant set on the gimbal.
I think that makes sense as a money thing. Like that's expensive, but that is, I think, validated. The plane?
But what I'm saying is it was such a short scene, though. Like, to think, like, in production terms, because I think sometimes, like, what if I was a movie director? Like, being, like, budget conscious, I'm sure, is a thing. And I was like, how much clout would I have to get before I would be authorized to be like, okay, so we're going to have this 3-minute sequence, and it's going to cost, like, $3 million of our budget. Just for those 3 minutes, like $1 million a minute is what this is costing.
It's got to be like the scene with the Valkyries in Thor Ragnarok, where Taika Waititi just knew someone who was pioneering that technology, and so they're like he just knew someone who was making some kind of like 4D experience thing or something, and was like, yes, we can use that.
Okay, in that sense, yes, because then you're. It's like a mutually beneficial thing. But yeah, like I just try to think, man, if I try to kickstart a movie and there was like a $3 million like sequence I had planned for it, like that'd be a hard sell, It's like it's gonna be on for 3 minutes only, but it's gonna be really awesome 3 minutes. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm not Christopher Nolan, nor will I ever reach that level. So
I just had to switch.
All right, that's Tenet. Tenet is on HBO Max.
What'd you watch?
And I don't want to discourage anyone from watching it. I mean, it's an interesting watch, but just definitely go in feeling like you're probably not going to care afterwards, that even though it was cool, you got nothing really out of it.
For my week's watch, don't go that far. Go to HBO Max for Hacks. It's an original series. It's all about Jean Smart plays a older comedian who has a residency. She actually has the first residency in Las Vegas, and her stand-up is going to be being moved out of the casino that she has been in for a very long time. She's a headliner. She used to be a TV series sitcom mom, like in the 70s, and it's all about how the scene and the entertainment business has changed throughout time. She gets herself a young writer, a young female writer that has kind of got herself cancel cultured in Hollywood because she put out a bad tweet, and the idea of the two of them having to work together because she's a millennial and Jean Smart's a boomer, and what they find funny is two completely different things, but they also come together in a very well-respected relationship. It's a really funny show, and it's great writing. And apparently Jean Smart is just like their go-to lady over there at HBO Max right now, because she was in Watchmen, she's in Hacks, and then there was another show in between that she was on. I'm trying to remember what it was, but the other actress in the show, Hannah Einbinder, I'd never seen her in anything before, but I thought she was exceptionally funny. Mayor of Easttown, apparently that's the other HBO Max show it's really popular right now that I have not seen, but Jean Smart was in that.
She's great. I've loved her since her time as this 3-episode recurring character on Frasier.
Of course, it comes back to Frasier.
Yeah, it always comes back to Frasier.
Always.
All roads lead to Frasier.
But there are also great side characters in the show. Both Jean Smart's character of Deborah Vance and Hannah's character of Ava share the same manager, and that's how they kind of got teamed up, because the manager, like Ava is his first find of his own when he was coming up as an agent. And then Deborah was his father's client that when he passed, like she went to him, she stayed with him. So he put the two of them together because he thought they would mesh well. They don't mesh well, but they do come up with great stuff together. So it's a good show. If anybody gets the opportunity to watch it, it's a lot of fun. I also finished off the second season of Lupin on Netflix. As I told us last week, I watched the first 3 episodes, so there's only 2 more episodes to go after that.
Audio went any better?
It did. It went better after the first 3 episodes. The first 3 episodes I was not so much into, especially after the first episode, but the last 2 episodes definitely reeled me back in. All right, HBO Max and Netflix. So,
before I get into my opinions on episode 3 of Loki, I'd like to say that my week's watch was Luca on Disney Plus. It's the new Disney Pixar movie about 2 boys, sea creatures that become friends and decide to do a triathlon race in a small port Italian town. It's utterly adorable, and the stories about, friendships and family, and of course, since it's Pixar, I cried just a little bit. But it is a wonderful story filled with a beautiful view of Italian culture as well. Now for episode 3 of Loki. This episode was probably my favorite so far. I absolutely adored the filming of this episode. It reminded me of like a video game, like kind of cyber style. Actually, the video game it reminded me of the most was, I believe, in Halo 4, or was it 5? I have no idea. I can't remember. There was a mission where you went to the Covenant's planet, and it was like so purple and pristine, and that's what I think it was, Lamentis. This planet reminded me of, was just that awesome purple and green colorings. I absolutely love that they didn't shy away from from Loki's sexuality at all. And I found that scene to be very well done as well, where it was just like kind of like a conversational scene, and it wasn't like in your face kind of sort of scene, I guess. I feel like it was done as it should be done, if that makes any sense. Actually, that whole train escapade with Loki getting drunk and throwing his glass down and saying another like Thor was, to me, quite hilarious. I actually absolutely loved Loki in this, and I liked that you also very quickly delved into Sylvie, and you don't quite exactly know why she's going against the TVA, but you're starting to know why she's going against the TVA, and you're kind of sort of, at least for me, starting to be like, yeah, they probably are the bad guys, aren't they? And the big reveal that the agents of the TVA are actual humans that are variants that have been like forced to be in the TVA and don't even know it. They think they're just created to do this job, is going to be an interesting concept. And now one of my theories is the reason why Mobius is obsessed with jet skis is that he totally had a jet ski in his previous life. At least I'm not going to be surprised. That's going to be the big reveal, is that he already owned a jet ski, and so he already knows he loves them. I will note, the worst thing about this episode was that crazy ending. I did like how it was filmed super shaky and chaotic. Didn't quite understand what was going on, but I think that was the whole point, was that you weren't supposed to understand what was going on other than everything is exploding around you kind of thing. But the dashing from room to room in utter chaos was cool, and also another like awesome video game moment for me. And then, but the fact that it literally just ends with them having no hope, getting off of the planet, was it Lamentis or something? or moon. I can't remember. They were on a moon that was going to hit by a moon, or a planet that was going to get hit by a moon. I can't remember. But yeah, that was just not a cool ending. And I am not happy having to wait a whole week to watch the next episode because I need it now in my life. But yeah, those are my quick thoughts on Loki and Sylvie traveling and having to work together in episode 3. Can't wait to hear what everybody else thought about it.
Let's get into talking about Loki episode 3, Lamentis. Does
Which apparently like I know it's supposed to be like a thing about the episode, the name of the planet or whatever. I think it just means purple. Maybe
because everything on the planet was purple.
Yeah.
That's actually what I was going to ask. Does anybody know what Lamentis means?
I mean, I'm sure.
Like lament.
Yeah, that's mine. Yeah, it means sad planet.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Sad purple planet.
Sad purple planet. All right. So, we were doing a little bit of talking before the episode, and it sounded like everybody kind of enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
What was it? So our big reveal, I feel the big reveal in this episode was that the TVA agents aren't created by the Timekeepers, and that they are actually other variants of other people on Earth, or I guess through the sacred timeline, that are brought to the TVA. Also, yeah, how come there are no aliens? Like, why are they all Earthlings?
Well, Men in Black already exists. They don't want to rub up against it.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, because the Timekeepers are all just Lokis.
Okay.
It's a distinct possibility.
It is. It really is.
I don't think it'll happen. But the idea that it's like the TVA is basically here just to manage the Loki problems.
So my big issue, and I brought this up earlier with this whole Jason Statham, Deckard Shaw thing. Loki is our villain in the first Thor movie. He is the big villain in the first Avengers movie. He is very capable. He's very cunning. Yes, he does get defeated. But now we get to this point in Loki's career and he's bumbling. Like, I don't get it. I need him to be more of a presence.
They Vegeta'd him.
Oh.
For the anime people. Vegeta, Hiei in Yu Yu Hakusho, all the bad guys who were like season 1 initial big bads become friends who are now doofuses.
It's just he's so powerful, and the fact that like I guess maybe Sylvie is giving him so much issue, but I guess she should be just as powerful as him, if not more. But like the guards, like the whole changing his outfit to look like one of the guards, and then he doesn't know what to do when the guy says you still need a ticket. Like, come on. This is the god of mischief. He should have been able to talk his way through any of this.
They did explain that in the episode. They tried to hand wave it when he said like that all of the Asgardians are actually just kind of idiots. So he hasn't had to have like exactly like the sharpest blade on this one. Like a dull knife totally did the work.
But you can take into account that he also, I mean, he I guess that was the scepter that changed Hawkeye. Yeah. I don't know. I just really feel like this is a big downgrade for Loki. Like this episode. So I am the outlier on this. I did not care for this episode at all.
Mitch, I'm right there with you.
Oh, I thought you liked this.
Positive for it.
Okay,
no,
all right.
I don't know why everyone's so jazzed about the episode. It's fine.
I think I'm with Steven. It was perfectly fine. It didn't hold my attention quite as much as the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as it is a Doctor Who episode, which I love Doctor Who.
It is definitely a Doctor Who.
This is not what I want from this show. Like, they show up on this planet, the planet is being destroyed, and they have to get to point A. Like, it's just so... I don't know, was I supposed to be learning more about Sylvie in this episode? Because I really feel like we learned more about Loki.
I think that's what it was for me, is that this wasn't about the destination, it was the journey.
Is the friendship that they made along the way?
The Lokis you make along the way.
Okay. Yeah, no, for a series, and I feel like I say this in every one of the series that we come across. For a series that's only 6 episodes long, we didn't need this episode. Nothing happened.
We had a confirmation of how many episodes there were?
Oh, yeah, there's only 6.
What the fuck?
No, that was my only complaint.
Train nonsense?
Yeah, my only complaint was that this episode was only 36 minutes, I think. And granted, not a lot happens in this episode.
This is only 36 minutes. This felt like a whole hour to me.
No, it felt really short. That's why I said when we got to the end credits, it was like, we're just now getting to the opening credits?
No, that was the end credits. I did not realize it was only 36, though. I thought it seemed so long.
So there's only 6 episodes. This episode's only 36 minutes, and we had that shit, like that terrible fireworks effect in his hand that didn't move with anything else. His hand has to be moving. If it's being generated by his hand, the fireworks stay in one spot the whole time.
That's how good he is.
It's a really basic effect. You could have made it more dynamic.
No, see what this could be. It could be backdoor special effect testing for Jubilee's powers when they introduce X-Men.
It's bad. It's a failed tech demo. Don't do it. It's really bad. It genuinely doesn't move. Like, you just motion track it to his palm. His hand moves. But then when the fireworks are shown next to Sylvie's face and like just the corner of the frame or whatever, they don't move at all. His hand has to be moving.
See, and I take this all as this is a failing of the pandemic. Like, we've had to film this in a certain way that took longer than normal. So now the special effects have to get done real quick so that we can hit that timeline of when we want to have this episode out.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm miffed. It's only 6 episodes, and it's looked this way.
So another thing that I had an issue with was like is an issue that Steven and I had in the 2nd episode. The fight scenes.
Oh, the music thing?
Well, just the fight scenes in general to me don't seem like they're edited well. Like, the whole oneer at the end of this episode should have looked so much better. And I think that the fact that the planet is all neon and dark and stuff like that made it so that it didn't look good to me.
So, while watching this, Naima was like, why are you stopping to look at any of this stuff? Like, for like the characters, they were doing the classic thing where like the environment around them is collapsing, and they, like, every once in a while they turn a corner and they just go, oh, and look up and see the thing falling down towards them and then start to run again. You don't need that.
Well, why are these guards even fighting them anymore? Like, what's the point? What are you stopping them from going to?
So that brings me to something I was bringing up prior to the show, and that is some theories about what's actually happening here.
Hit me. I need something.
Okay. So, 2 things. One that I think has already been debunked is because this ends on a cliffhanger. And we're like, okay, so their one method that they were going to use to try to save themselves from this apocalypse has been destroyed. So it looks like they're stuck there, basically. And it does end on kind of like that's it. There's not even like an after credit stinger. Like, literally, they're just kind of like, well, that's it. We're doomed. And kind of just, that's it. No, nothing more. So the first thing that popped up, and somebody was saying, but wait, remember when Loki was looking for the Tesseract, he had his hands on the Time Stone in that junk drawer full of old Infinity Stones. He must have pocketed a Time Stone, and he's going to turn back time and save the ship, and then they'll get it. But somebody else pointed out, because they also got a hold of that theory, you can clearly hear Loki drop it back. You don't see it, but you hear the sound effect of like something falling back into the drawer.
I think the biggest issue with that is that they've already explained that if that's outside of its timeline, then it doesn't work.
See, I thought it was if it's in the TVA, it doesn't work. But if it's in somewhere within the timeline, much like their magic powers, that it would work. Because the Infinity Stones that they took in Avengers Endgame were from other timelines.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
That's fair. Okay. I mean, yes, you do hear him drop it though. So, I mean,
there is the sound effect of it clinking along with those other things.
He's all the god of mischief though, so he could have been dropping anything else in there.
Now, the other thing that was presented in this episode, which I think has a much stronger case for being true, the episode begins with essentially an Inception extraction moment.
So this is where I'm at. Like, I think that they showed us this at the beginning for a reason.
Yes. So that would lead into a few scenes later on. Loki's like, how do you do that? And she's like, well, I should show you. And he was like, no, thanks. You'll just enchant me. A lot of this back and forth is telling me that either Loki figured out how to do that mind control thing, and he's doing it to Sylvie, or it's like a much more deeper Inception thing. And like Sylvie did it to Loki. And then within that illusion, Loki is doing it to Sylvie. It gets a little convoluted. But I think there's a little bit of that going on. And I think that's the theory I'm sticking with, is that what we saw at the end of this episode wasn't accurate, but it was the events that we were witnessing, especially with the guards fighting, were deliberate. Not realistic, but deliberate for what it is that really is going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, so I think when Sylvie goes to grab Loki and enchant him, like he says...
It worked.
It worked, yes, exactly. But he's like, are you trying to enchant me? It's not going to work because I have a great mind, like in very much Loki way.
Yeah.
But when she later explains, like, sometimes they go away for a rest, sometimes it's like we're both driving. Like, we're definitely in the sometimes we're both driving kind of scenario. And if it turns up to be like, hey, none of this actually happened, it was just Sylvie playing enchanting you and playing a trick, like that goes back to the whole it was all just a dream episode. And that's like what
It Almost Fire, whatever it is.
Or
what's the show?
Saint Elsewhere. That's the Inside the Snow Globe. But no, there was Dallas, I think, was the show where the lady wakes up and says, "Oh, Patrick Duffy, you're not dead."
Yeah, that was Dallas.
Dallas, yeah. So yeah, like that's a trope that they don't use in TV anymore because it's bad.
Actually, they did. They reused it with the reboot of Roseanne.
Did they? I never watched the reboot, so I was wondering.
The last season of Roseanne, before it was canceled in the 90s, like the whole season is really weird because all of a sudden, like, they're rich and like everything goes good. It's no longer about them struggling like in the previous seasons and all that. And then at the very last episode of that finale, it turns out that whole last season was Roseanne writing a novel of her life, the life that she wished they had. And in reality, John Goodman's character was like died of a heart attack. The relationships that his daughter had were reversed. One of them actually turned out to be a lesbian, I think, probably Sarah Gilbert. So when they rebooted Roseanne, it was like that whole final season never happened. So John Goodman never died,
but they also didn't
Roseanne
get rich.
did stuff, and now she got kicked out of her own show. But that's a whole different thing.
I like the way they did it in Community. For one season where they had other writers and stuff got crazy, they're just like, oh, that was the gas leak here.
So yes, it's not a trope that they're like going to still shy away from, but it is much less common because people do have negative reactions to like undoing all of this investment.
And that's where I'm getting to is like, if this episode ends up being all just an enchantment, to what end? What is it that who is going to gain anything? Either side, Loki or Sylvie, from the fact that this is not actually happening. Like
Sylvie, she learned a bunch about him.
About his mother? Like,
yeah, maybe this is just one. We saw her recreate that, or the scene with the girl from what was the name of the show from
terrible virus movie show.
Yeah, which that one, the agent person from that, we saw her do the same thing with that person. It seemed like multiple times,
right?
Reaching to this memory for this,
right?
So this could just be one instance of her doing that.
So then later on, there's gonna be a scene between Frigga and Loki that is actually going to be Sylvie trying to get some information.
It's possible. I don't know.
Somebody has the theory that Sylvie might be a variant Frigga.
It's a possibility. I mean, it's the reason why she would want him to talk about his mother. Like, that makes sense.
Yes.
We've seen this in the comics. We've seen this other Loki before.
Sylvie, yes,
with the busted horn and stuff.
As Enchantress or something like that.
Yeah, we've seen the Enchantress before, yes.
There was a note somebody pointed out too online where like you can see her case file and her name is listed as Loki, or was it what? No, it might have been Sylvie Laufey daughter.
Right, just like he's Laufey's son. It's just the son of the Frost Giant or something like that, and the daughter of the Frost Giant.
Or daughter of a Frost Giant. Yeah. So
just like it's Thor Odin's son.
Yeah.
Somebody else also pointed out, like, if magic doesn't work in the TVA, shouldn't Loki be blue during that whole time that he's there? But they're waving a hand at that.
I think that's just
he still uses magic, though. He uses magic.
Not in the TVA.
Yeah, there was a part where he did something. Oh goodness, I haven't watched these episodes recently enough. I feel like there was magic at some point in there.
Sylvie attempts to use her magic
in this episode.
And you get a flit of the green, but then it goes away.
Just like but Loki tried to use his magic in the first episode, and it just doesn't work when he's being judged. I'm pretty sure there's nothing being done in the second episode when he's like explaining the salt and pepper and pouring stuff onto the salad. I was gonna go somewhere. Dang it. Oh no, I forgot where I was gonna go.
You know, I wanted to bring up a side note. I always thought that Loki created his daggers like the same way that Hela does.
Mm-hmm.
Because she just makes like swords materialize out of her arms and shoots them. That's a really cool power to have. It's basically like Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins, just like keep chucking those lances. But I guess Loki really does have to have the physical daggers. He just disappears them when he doesn't need them.
Yeah,
I guess
just like the Tempad.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. I thought if he's that magical, he could just make daggers appear, or...
I think that's the extent of his power is illusion. Like, it's just to hide things on his body.
The one I liked that he threw the dagger towards Sylvie, and you expect her to grab the dagger and use it to kill the guard, but then she just like hits his face against it instead. I liked that moment.
And it just kind of bounces.
The face with that has a helmet on it, so it really doesn't hurt him at all.
they're bad helmets.
Those are terrible design. Who thought that the fin visor thing was a good idea? Like,
you know what that looks like?
The Cobra Commander.
A lot of people are saying Cobra Commander, but I have a better one. Did you ever watch that episode of Malcolm in the Middle where Hell takes up speed walking?
Yes, that does look like those speed walking helmets.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like a weird funnel shape thing. Yeah.
Giger.
I know what I was going to say. Did you say Giger as in like H.R. Geiger?
Yeah.
Giger? Okay.
Yeah, it has that alien head.
I was gonna bring up. I assumed that the whole blue skin thing was Odin's magic, so maybe his magic is more powerful.
He did,
but Odin's gone. Yeah, as soon as Odin died, his enchantments wore off.
No,
it's because we want to be able to look at Tom Hiddleston. Let's just leave it at that.
Look at a blue Tom Hiddleston.
Making him blue would also just be too much work, no matter what.
No, you're right. But the enchantment that he placed on Mjolnir still exists. So you guys can't say that just because Odin's not around.
I don't know if that's necessarily true, but we won't know for sure because Odin is dead at that point.
Yeah, but Mjolnir is still around. They went and grabbed it during Endgame, and Captain America picks it up.
That's from a timeline where Odin was still alive, though.
But it's no longer in that timeline. It is in the new timeline where Odin is dead.
It goes by the rules of its timeline. I'm sticking with that.
Well, no, my bigger question is, did Odin really enchant that? I thought it was part of Peter Dinklage's character.
No, it was because in the first Thor movie, he speaks into it and he says, "Only that who is worthy can wield the power of Thor." So it has the whole thing that goes on to it.
Yeah, like the little runes appear on it.
Yeah,
which is going to be great in the upcoming movie.
And Thor: Love and Thunder, that's going to be the big part of why Natalie Portman becomes Thor.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited.
Until apparently, when in real time on the previous timeline, when Odin dies, and then The idea that Jane Foster could be flying and then all of a sudden Mjolnir doesn't have an enchantment anymore because in real time, in its timeline, Odin has passed.
Well, at that point, I don't think that would have affected her. The magic was still within the hammer for like the abilities. Just the part that you had to be worthy was the thing that Odin put in there.
So now you're just changing up all the rules, John.
Hey,
isn't that always the case in comic books?
I don't like the tone in your voice when you say that.
Who's the latest writer on Thor? Let's contact him and get clarification.
Is it Nick Spencer?
I don't know who's right, but they just changed a couple times for the particular run.
Well, Nick Spencer's the one that created.
Someone called We
Mighty
Have
Thor.
Issues.
I mean, technically, for a while, Thor wasn't even worthy because, like, apparently Nick Fury told him the truth about the hammer, and like,
no, shush.
Oh, I don't know what it is.
I'm saying that could be the actual plot of Love and Thunder.
Oh, that's true.
So Nick Fury becomes a god.
You know, I also am on a
actually.
comic book podcast there, Steven.
What's up?
I said, I'm also on a comic book podcast. You don't need to call another comic book podcast.
You're not talking about reading current issues.
Yes, we do.
What? Which one?
We talk about it's okay. Anyways, okay.
Too many podcasts going on.
This particular episode, if it ends up being a enchantment induced fever dream, what's the big part coming up next that you want to see?
I want to see the TVA, or not the TVA, the Timekeepers.
The Timekeepers?
Yes. They've been building them up too much for them not to show them.
I want Loki to free Mobius and get him on a jet ski.
That'll be an end credit stinger, I'm sure. Like, the whole thing will wrap, credits, and then we'll just hear like, "Wah."
It's gonna be like, wow.
That's how they sneak it in there.
Honestly, I have at no point in this whole series wanted to try to predict things necessarily. I'm just kind of letting it roll over me.
Okay, that's fine.
I do expect some kind of like buddy cop moments between the two of them once he reveals the whole "you're a variant" kind of thing to him.
Do you think we ever get to see Owen Wilson again in the MCU after this show?
If the TVA is done for, then no.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see him showing up in the MCU again. Honestly, I don't know if I see Loki showing up in the MCU again after this.
That's fair. I think we're definitely in a spot where characters are being shed.
Yeah, especially characters from the previous phases. So, anything else anybody wants to bring up? Anything they found important? Who took notes? Nobody. Of course not. That's not our style.
I have one thing to talk about.
Oh.
So the thing that I liked the most was definitely just the interaction between Sylvie and Loki. Every time those two were talking, bickering, bantering, and sharing moments, I was into it. I like their chemistry, which is good because they're supposed to be the same character, or are they?
They're not.
Anyway, one of my favorite moments here was something that was really unexpected. Loki does a full-on Lord of the Rings and does like a little bar song.
Oh yeah.
Which I thought it was a cool character moment. Like, if anything, maybe plot-wise it was a little bit weak, but there's some good character stuff going on here. And it shows in the subtitles that he's singing in Asgardian. But, thankfully, people who speak Norwegian were like, no, that's Norwegian. It, makes sense, but yeah, that's Norwegian. So they translated it, and I thought the lyrics were pretty interesting. It basically translates to, "In storm-blackened mountains I wander alone. Across glaciers I travel forth. In the apple orchard the fair maiden stands and sings, 'When will you come home?'" And the chorus is in English, which is, when she sings, "Come home." So
what does this song mean to you, John?
It sounds to me like his mother.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of mother talk in this, and I think his mom is just trying to, because he never got the chance to speak to her again in this timeline, and he only got to see that she died. So I think mainly what this is going towards is for him to get redemption from Frigga.
So 3 Thor movies are all about about daddy issues. We get 1 Loki series. It's about mommy issues.
Makes sense.
I mean,
seems proportional to reality.
Yeah.
All right. Which also, I mean, that scene is also interesting because that's Sylvie waking up and Loki is so that lends to John's whole inception of Loki enchanting the Enchantress or vice versa at that point.
See, that's what makes me think that in the next episode we'll get the reveal that this whole thing was an enchantment all along. It's like, oh wow, like you tricked me, whatever. And then we're gonna get another reveal later that says, oh no, we were in an enchantment within an enchantment. It was enchantmentception.
All right, if you have an opinion, a theory, something that you want us to hear about Loki, please reach out to me. I am at Mitchipedia, GEM. GEM stands for Geek Elite Media. Steven, where can people find you online?
You can find me all across social media as some version of Peppermint Gentleman. For Twitter, that's Peppermint Gent for short.
John?
You can find me on Twitter. I am at Magic Bollocks.
Elizabeth?
You can find me with the rest of Geek Elite Media at Geek Elite Media and our Facebook page /Geek Elite Media.
Please check out our website, geekelitemedia.com, for archived episodes of this podcast and other podcasts on our network. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Geek Elite Media, for exclusive material you can only get if you're one of our patrons. Ooh. And if you could please rate and review us on whatever podcatcher you use to listen to us, please, it would help spread the word of our network. But until next time, this is the Geeks Watch on the Geek Elite Media Network saying always remember to geek out.
Geek out.
This concludes our broadcast.